family. We are Team Nebo. That's right. Thought about getting some shirts up saying Team Nebo on it. Wouldn't that be a blessing? Because we are a family. We are a team. Our job, as Brother Gary mentioned in Sunday school, if you don't come to Sunday school yet, let me encourage you to come. Our high attendance so far in Sunday school has been 37. We're teetering. Last 2 weeks, we've been at 35. We wanted to get up above 37. So let me encourage you to come if you don't come yet and be a part of that. But you know, watching them, they showed me that in Sunday school class, and they asked if I could do it in church. And I thought, yeah, I can do that. That's because that's what church is supposed to be about, working together. Right. I think we got a great church, don't you? Amen. I think we're working together. When you look around, you see things take place. You ain't noticed the playground down there. Don't walk down there today. But look down out the window, see the new playground they've been working on. I think they finished up the swings yesterday. I'm not sure what else they got planned down there, but a lot of things going on. They got ideas of how to keep mud from coming into church. We want the kids to go down there and play and still be able to come back up here. So it's a blessing. Got to find out a little bit more about the parking lot. They've already started working on it. I don't know if that's the finish or are they going to do some more. I'm thinking they're going to do some more, so I'm going to check on that. A building's coming to put new storage. Then they're going to work on this building to make it another Sunday school class on this end. And a lot of things going on in it. Amen. You know, a church that's alive is going to do some things.
Amen.
And if we want to just not do anything and throw money in an account, see, you're seeing where your tithes and offerings are going by looking around. So you're investing in God's kingdom. You're investing in it. I'm praying about how can we get more evangelistic in things that we're doing. How can we reach out to neighborhoods, family, friends? How are we going to reach them as you're telling them and inviting them to the house of God? So if you got your Bibles, I want you to turn to John chapter 18. John chapter 18.
When Jesus had spoken these words, he went forth with his disciples over the brook Cedron, where was a garden, into the which he entered and his disciples. Judas also, which betrayed him, knew the place of Jesus, oftentimes resorted thither with his disciples. Judas then, having received a band of men and officers from the chief priests and the Pharisees, cometh hither with lanterns and torches and weapons. Jesus therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went forth, and he said unto them, Whom seek ye? They answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus said unto them, I am he. And Judas also, which betrayed him, stood with them. As soon then as he had said unto them, I am he, they went backwards and fell to the ground. Then asked he them again, Whom seek ye? And they said, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus answered, I have told you that I am he. If therefore ye seek him, let these go their way, that the saying might be fulfilled, which he spake, of them which thou gavest me, I have lost none. Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it, and smote the high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was, I don't want to say that word. Malchus. Then said Jesus unto Peter, Put up thy sword into the sheath, and the cup which my Father hath given me, shall I not drink it? Then the band of the captain and officers of the Jews took Jesus, and bound him, and led him away to Annas first, for he was father-in-law to Caiaphas, which was the high priest that same year. Now, how you say that? Caiaphas was he which gave counsel to the Jews that it was expedient that one man should die for the people.
Amen. Thanks, brother.
And Simon Peter followed Jesus, and so did another disciple. That disciple which known unto the high priest, and went with Jesus unto the palace of the high priest. But Peter stood at the door without. Then went out that other disciple which was known unto the high priest, and spake unto her that kept the door, and brought in Peter. Then said the damsel that kept the door unto Peter, Art thou also the one of the man's disciples? He said, I am not. And the servant and the officer stood there, who had made a fire of coal, for it was cold, and they warmed themselves as Peter stood with them and warmed himself. The high priest then asked Jesus of his disciples and of his doctrine. Jesus answered him, I spake openly to the world. I never taught in the synagogue and in the temple whether the Jews always resort, and in secret have I said nothing. Why askest thou me? Ask them which heard me what I have said unto them. Behold, thou knowest what I have said. And when he had thus spoken, one of the officers which stood by struck Jesus with the palm of his hand, saying, Answerest thou the high priest so? Jesus answered him, If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil, but if well, why smitest thou me? And Ananias had sent him bound up in Caiaphas' house, the high priest. 28.
Down to 27.
27. And Simon Peter stood and warmed himself. They said, Therefore, unto him, Art thou also one of his disciples? He denied it, and said, I am not. One of the servants of the high priest, being a kinsman, whose ear Peter cut off, said, Did not I see thee in the garden with him? And Peter denied him again, and immediately the cock crew.
Let's bow for prayer. Heavenly Father, I'm praying, God, that you bless the reading of your word. I'm praying, God, that our hearts have been prepared through the singing. That, God, that we can draw closer to you today. That, God, that you would speak into our hearts today. And that, God, we'd realize what you did for us. God, the sacrifice, the payment that was paid that day. Lord, as we look at this passage today and get ready for the next couple for this next week, God, I'm praying, God, that you'd have your will and your way. God, speak to us. Lord, we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. You may remain seated. John chapter 18. What a tremendous chapter. Now, coming from chapter 17, Jesus had left the upper room. He had just got done praying. And verses 23 down to verse 26 of chapter 17. And we get into chapter 18, and he's headed to Gethsemane. He's headed out there to pray and to talk to his Father. Now, here was a bright light on a dark night. As he was out there, James Warden Johnson's poem says, from the poem called The Creation, said this: As far as the eye of God could see, darkness covered everything. Blacker than 100 midnights down in a cypress swamp. He's got a whole big long poem on when God created the earth. But the 18th chapter here of the book of John records a night almost that dark. It was the night of Jesus' arrest, his trial, a night when darkness of sinful man blackened the cold, dark Jerusalem night. It was a dark night indeed. Someone once said it was a night that will live in infamy. That means it's a night that is unspeakable, a night that changed history, if you will. On that night, Judas betrayed. On that night, the soldiers seized him. Peter denied. The disciples scattered. The religious leaders conspired and conspired to put to death the only true innocent man who had ever lived, Jesus Christ. Really, really, it was a dark night indeed. But in that dark night, there was a bright light. I meant to bring a light bulb to show you, but you can see with all the lights here how dark it would be without the light. And in that garden, that day, that night, Jesus shined brighter than he'd ever been before because he was praying for you and me. There is so much in the book of John here that I just didn't have time to get through all of it. I wanted to start over in chapter 16 and work all the way to the end of the chapter to show you the resurrection of Christ. But we're going to look at that next week. But it was a dark night. What a dark night it was. But there was a bright light in that garden. We know the Bible says Jesus is the light of the world. And a light that bright can't be hidden.
Right.
By the way, if you're a child of God and Jesus is living in your heart, the light that you're carrying around can't be hidden either. Amen, brother. Hurry. Ain't going much. Okay, I got 20 minutes. Let's get this done, shall we? Well, some of y'all looking mighty sad about this thing. Some of y'all looking like a driver's license picture. Pretty bad. Leon Morris said this of this passage. He said, here supremely we see the purpose of God worked out, and here supremely is the glory of Jesus revealed. He is fixing to do something that no other man can or has ever done or will ever do again. He is fixing to take upon himself the sin of the whole world. Even when darkness seems to hide its face, we can rest on his unchanging grace. See, we need to realize today, he was fearless when the forces came to take him. Notice here in verse number 3, John begins to tell us that after his great prayer, recorded in chapter number 17, Jesus made his way to Gethsemane, to that garden that he often visited with his disciples. And in verse number 3, we know it is Gethsemane. By the way, do you realize Judas knew this garden as well as anybody else, and he knew it exactly more than we know it today. Judas knew this garden, and then the Bible says Judas did, having received a band of men and officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, he went out to that garden with lanterns and torches and weapons. Judas brought with him that night what amounted to be a small army that is called a cohort. A cohort actually averaged out from 200 to 600 men. So just imagine, as Judas was headed out to that garden, he had around between 200 to 600 men with him with lanterns, torches, and swords, everything they would need really to go into a small battle. But I want you to notice something in verse number 4. He wasn't overtaken. By the way, they did not take him by force. These authorities did not finally catch up to Jesus. They did not finally catch up because he wasn't running from them anyway. He knew where they was. He knew what was going to take place. There was always a plan A and never a plan B. He knew where he was going, and he knew how he had to go to get there. They didn't sneak up on him. They didn't surprise him. He knew all along that they was coming. And he knew all along where he was going. Verse 4, John tells us, Jesus therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went forth and said to them, whom seek ye? By the way, did you notice Jesus wasn't sitting there praying when they showed up? He had already got up, got the other three up. You know the other three Baptists are sleeping over there while he's praying. He got them three Baptists up, then he went and got the other disciples up, and he went out to meet them, and they didn't find him, he went and found them. Isn't that amazing? if a small army coming to seek you, what you going to do? We're going to turn the other way and scooty on down through the woods and get over there somewhere else where we can hide. Jesus didn't hide. He knew what he had to do. He knew where he had to go. He knew the payment that had to be paid. See, he wasn't overtaken. That's why he asked them, who seek ye? They didn't have to come into the garden to find Jesus. He came face to face to them and met them before they ever got to him. That's why he asked them that question, whom seek ye? We're reminded here that Jesus, they didn't take his life. He willingly laid his life down.
That's right.
He gave his life. No man would take it from him by force. He offered it up by grace. That's why we can be saved by grace. Because see, later in verse number 11, Jesus rebuked Peter by saying, the cup which my Father hath given me, shall I not drink it? See, Peter said, Lord, be it not so from you. But Jesus knew he had to drink the cup of the cross. He knew he had to lay down his life. He knew he had to shed his blood. He knew he had to be nailed to a cross. It was already foretold in the Old Testament. And Jesus had already been trying to tell them. You ever try to tell somebody something and they don't listen? Yeah, don't look at the spouse beside you. Don't look at your kids. But you know, the Bible says in Revelation, they have ears to hear, but they hear not. A lot of times we have ears. They had ears, but they wasn't listening. They wasn't catching what Jesus was trying to teach them. He had to come and lay down his life for you and me. He had to give his life because the payment that needed to be paid, we could not pay that payment. That's right. Not with our sinful selves, not with the depravity and wretchedness of our own hearts. We couldn't pay that payment. Ain't you glad somebody else paid it for you?
Amen.
See, he wasn't taken, he was given. That's right. The cup of the cross was not forced upon Jesus. He gladly gave it like a man. It's not like he was giving a lethal injection. You know, today we try to be humane, don't we? We give them a lethal injection, they just fall asleep and then they're gone. They didn't do that during Roman times when it was a massacre, when they took somebody and they was going to publicly display them. We're going to look at that in just the next few messages. What they did to Jesus. See, even when we're not in control of all the events that surround us in life, even when we are overtaken by circumstances that seize us, should we not trust that he's still in control?
Right.
You know, those things happen in our homes, on our jobs, in our own personal lives. It can be physical, spiritual, emotional, whatever it is. What we don't realize is God's still in control. Right. Nothing takes him by surprise. What you're going through, just remember this. You can offer it up to him, but what we need, instead of praying, God, take this out of my life, maybe we need to pray, God, what can I learn through this in my life? That's right. Yes. See, he wasn't overtaken. He wasn't overpowered, by the way. Notice Jesus was certainly outnumbered that night. He was outnumbered by that cohort in that garden, but John reveals to him by no means was he overpowered. He was not overpowered. He walked out of that garden and he addressed the man and come to him. He asked him, who are you looking for? Whom seek ye? Means today, who are you looking for? They had answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. Now look carefully at verse number 5. Jesus said to him, I am he. Literally, we can even read that, I am. Remember the Old Testament when Moses went up there to the burning bush and God was giving him a job to do to lead Israel out? And he said, who shall I say sent me? And he says, tell them I am and sent you. Literally, that's what he's talking about. This is the I am of the New Testament. It's also the I am of the Old Testament. Here is Jesus right here. Tell them I am. I am he. And responding to those words, notice Jesus was just repeating the very name of God that he used in the Old Testament. Right. Now, the effect of this statement is nothing short of remarkable. John records that Judas and the crowd that was following him to get to Jesus, notice verse number 5. They answered Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus said to him, I am he. And Judas, which betrayed him, stood with him. And as soon as he had said unto them, I am he, they went backward and fell to the ground. The very words of the Word of God speaking made them take a step backwards and they fell to their knees. His word was more powerful than their swords.
Amen.
His words were more powerful than their shields. Their words were more powerful than the torches that they held in their hand. His very word, when he spoke, it had such power. It could break down walls of resentment. It could break down walls of anger. It can break down anything that comes into your life.
Amen.
Just through his word, it would let his word speak to us.
That's right.
If we get into his word. But see, he wasn't overpowered. He had all the power. Remember in another passage it talks about he could call down 12 legions of angels to help him. Now 12 legions of angels, I got to thinking about, I'm thinking, is that 12,000 per legion? That's a lot of angels, isn't it?
Amen.
He could call them down, or he could just speak the word, and those men could have fell down dead. The power of life is in his words. Just the mention of his name could topple his enemies. There was more power in his words than those soldiers held. There's more power in what Jesus said than any miracle worker today. I'll be honest. It's not about the miracles. You know, we'd say, well, if we'd seen those miracles, we would have believed. If not a sign take a leper and cleanse him, I would have believed in it. If that hurt, see the deaf being able to hear, and the blind being able to see, and the mute being able to speak, I would have believed in it. If that I saw him raise a dead person, I would have believed in it. But I want to tell you, no, you need to believe it by faith. Amen. Don't believe in the miracles, believe in his word. Right. See, it's the message that he brought. Right. The miracles was just a sign to show you who he was. Right. By the way, you realize all the miracles he performed not even written in this book. Right. The Bible says that all that Jesus did and said, even the world could not contain all of Jesus. I'm glad I'm serving a God who's so big that I can't even explain it.
That's right.
But see, he would step out of the tomb on Sunday, even though they crucified him on Friday. He stepped out of that tomb because he was the life. He said, I am the resurrection and the life.
Right, amen.
You know, dead people can't stay in the presence of life. That's right. You know, I heard somebody say this, that first funeral I ever preached, I preached a funeral of somebody that was lost. I called my pastor, I said, Brother Charles, I said, I've got to preach this man's funeral, he's lost. He died and went to hell. What do I do, brother? How do I said, Jesus never preached a funeral. He broke up every funeral he ever attended. Right. Isn't that amazing? He is alive. He broke up every funeral he ever went to. He said, you just preach Jesus, brother. Let God do the rest. That's right. See, if we just let Jesus lead our lives and realize what he did for us. You realize in that garden he was praying for you and me? Yes. Not only was he praying for his disciples, those that he had been given by the Father, he was praying for all of us in the future that was going to be born again. That's right. Jesus paid it all.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you. See, Jesus did everything that we could not do. Right. See, he was faithful even when the friends around him failed him. You say, well, I wouldn't have ran like they did. Oh, yes, you would. Yeah. 200 to 600 men, you'd have been first one running. Yeah, because I've been behind you, trying to catch up. I remember many years ago, I lived down in the projects. I was one of the only white guys down there who lived down in the projects. And I remember some old redneck country boys come down there, and they was mouthing off, and we got, me and another guy, Al, a good friend of mine, he stood about this tall. He had about 7 brothers and a sister, and we was standing around, and these old boys come down there, and they was mouthing off, and we said, y'all don't belong here. Y'all need to get out. They pulled out guns. Guess what we did? We vacated the premises. And when Al finally caught up with me, He said, I didn't know white boy could run that fast. I said, you get a gun after me, I'm gone. I said, I'll go get you help. You stay here and take care of this. I'll go get help. See, what we do is, in the face of danger, what we need to realize, we may not be able to handle the danger, but I know somebody that can. I can run to somebody that can. See, he was faithful even when the friends failed him, when the friends ran away. See, it hadn't been but a few hours before that scene that Jesus had warned his disciples what was fixing to take place. He had warned them that it was going to take him, and they was going to flee, they was going to run. Simon Peter, at least verbally, said he wouldn't run. He would die for it. He was a devoted disciple, yet he failed the Lord really in the most miserable way in this passage. But Peter's mistake was tragic with it. You look at it and go, really there's no glossing over it. Peter blew it that night, didn't he? Mm-hmm. He cut off an ear and then he ran for the hills. That very moment, Peter had sworn not to forsake Jesus. He failed him in the most tragic scene imaginable. But Peter's mistake in the text was really twofold. If you look at it, we see that he was very aggressive, first of all, when he should have been submissive. He should have waited on Jesus to tell him what he needed to do. That's right. Boy, don't we do that sometimes? Mm-hmm. We run ahead of Jesus. That's right. Oh, I think the Lord wants me to do this. I was preaching a funeral one time, and I heard one of the person tell another relative, Mama want me to have that. You ain't seen Mama in 15 years, and you think Mama wants you to have that. Well, I think Jesus wants me to do this. Have you talked to him? Have you talked to him lately? Say, God, lead me in what you have me to do. Now, I don't want you to hesitate when God tells you to do something, but you need to wait on him and make sure it's clear that God's telling you to do what he wants you to do. But if he tells you to do something, you need to do it. You don't need to run for the hills and say, I'm going to run. I'm not doing that, Jesus. We need to do what he called us to do. But see, Peter's mistake was tragic. See, John says Peter cut off the ear of one of the servants, a man by the name of Malchus. Adrian Rogers said Simon Peter was a good fisherman, but he was a terrible swordsman. He wasn't aiming for the ear, by the way. He was aiming for the head. He was wanting to cut the head off from the shoulders. And Peter only got a portion of it. He only got the ear. And Simon, he was a good fisherman, but a bad soldier. When Jesus was taken home, though, to the home of Ananias, the father-in-law of Caiaphas, the high priest, Peter, was one of the following. John and Peter, Mary, the mother of Jesus, and many other women, Martha, several women, was around the cross. But Peter followed him, the Bible says, afar off. Can you identify with the far off part? I'm following Jesus, but I'm not 100% in. I'm following Jesus. I've got the Christian name tag on. I'm dressing the part. I'm trying to look the part. I'm trying to talk the part. But I can't sell out completely to Jesus. If I sell out completely to Jesus, I'm a religious nut. I'd rather be a nut for Jesus than be a squirrel. Because I say Gary's like the other day. I run over a squirrel. He goes, I like nuts. But see, if we're a nut for Jesus and we get screwed onto that right boat, guess what? Folks might see a difference in us. And they mean, what happened with Peter here, prayerfully, we may stumble and fall. We may get out there and we may trip sometimes. But the thing is, what we need to do is we need to get back up and get back on following Jesus. Right. I know I'm a failure sometimes. I fall. I stumble. I make mistakes. Ain't you glad you know your preacher ain't perfect now? Yeah. My wife calls me perfect. But she does it sarcastically. No, I'm not perfect. I'm perfect in Jesus. Right. Because when Father sees me, he sees me through the blood of Christ. Amen. And through the blood of Christ, I'm perfect in his eyes. Amen. But this old flesh ain't saved. This flesh is still causing me problems. This flesh is still going to stumble and fall. And I may do like Peter did. I pray we don't. I pray that we don't stumble that bad. But Peter stumbled and he fell even after he said, I would die for you. Even all these, if they run away, I won't. If all these forsake you, I'll be right. I'll die. I'll give my life for you. Peter didn't do that, did he? What can we learn from Peter's mistake? I'm glad you asked. I think it reminds us that Satan always wants us at one or two extremes. He wants us either extreme over here or extreme over there. He either wants us to be so confident that we think we can do it all ourselves. Or he wants us on the other extreme, so cowardly that we can't do anything at all. He don't want us in the middle. He wants us either one extreme. We're either too cowardly or too prideful. Oh, I can do this myself. We need to be in the middle with Jesus and say, I can do all things through Christ which giveth me strength.
Amen.
See, Peter's master was trustworthy. He didn't have to worry about Jesus. Peter couldn't be trusted, but Jesus could.
That's right.
And he can still be trusted today. He's going to take care of Peter no matter what Peter did. If Peter couldn't take care of himself, Jesus is still going to take care of Peter. Yep. Verse 8, Jesus said to the soldiers who came for him, I have told you that I am he. If therefore you seek me, let these go away. Jesus was trying to protect him even then. Right. Verse number 9. John inserts this, that the sayings might be fulfilled which he spake of them which thou gavest me, I have lost none. You know what? I can say that in the baptism pool. I ain't lost one in the baptism pool yet. I ain't drowned one. I ain't had one float away from me down the stream or any time. I ain't lost one yet. Jesus, when he saves a person, he ain't gonna lose you.
That's right.
Amen.
Thank the Lord.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Amen. Did you see the red sash up there on the cross? That tells me that when the blood has been applied, it can't be washed away. It can't be prayed away. I can't slip through his fingers. Nobody can pluck me from his hands. That means I belong to God and I'm his forever and ever and ever.
Amen.
I am a child of the King.
That's right.
I am of royal blood.
That's right.
You may look at me and say, well, you don't look like much. That's okay. I don't have to look like much. I just belong to the King.
That's
right.
I'm glad I can go into the very throne room of the King himself.
That's right.
You know, I was reading last night. I stayed at home all yesterday afternoon and the evening. Melissa said, you need to slow down. I do need to slow down. Chris even told me that day, you need to slow down. Ray, I'm hyper. I'm used to, last night sitting in my study, I had to keep getting up and go outside for a while and come back in. I'd go outside, do something, and come back in and study. Then I'd get back up, go back outside, do something else, come back in and study. And finally, I got through my studies. It takes me a while doing it that way. But I got back in there and got to studying. And as I studied,